My name is Bahman Mirshab. I'm Dean, College of Business Information Technology. I have been the 7th Dean of this college. And as you know, last year the name of the college was changed from College of Management to the College of Business and Information Technology. On behalf of our faculty, staff, and the leadership of the university, welcome you to the 7th annual honor induction ceremony of the College of Business Information Technology. Today's ceremony celebrates excellent academic achievement of our students. Before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to sponsors who generously helped us make this event become a success. As I call your name, could you please stand up and be recognized? Ms. Karen Arthur Langley. Dr. Armando Ash, the President of Megatronics. Mr. George Barnes, President and CEO of Heritage Vision Plans. Mr. John Beebs, CPA, Partner, Plant Moran, PLC. Ms. Maureen Kleinsmith, Principal and Senior Consultant, Wells Advantage Group, and she's not here, unfortunately. Ms. Yalda Goreshi, Marketing Manager, Financial Services, FCA Group. Mr. Satish Justi, Vice President and Senior Lending Officer, Bank of Ann Arbor. Unfortunately, he couldn't also come tonight. Dr. Masood Omrani, Managing Director of CAD-FEM America Incorporation. Dr. Reza Rahmani, President and CEO of Rahmani Eye Institute, and he probably joins us later on. Mr. Mike Solari, Executive Vice President of Engineering Services, ESI Group North America. And Mr. Rupash Srivastava, President, Young Soft Incorporation. Also, unfortunately, he had other engagements. He couldn't come. Before we begin, let me also make a few important introductions. First and most, our President and CEO, President Virender Madgin. Ms. Christine Mueller, Vice President of Development. Mr. Bruce Annette, Vice President of Marketing. Professor Glenn Bauer, Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. Professor Scott Schall, Associate Dean, College of Architecture and Design. Mr. Mark Berkey, Executive Director, Corporate and Community. Mark is back there. Mr. Matthew Roche, Director of Media Relations. Mr. Brian Breen, Digital Media Specialist. Ms. Nadia Fadel Bazi, Director of Corporate and Foundation. Right. Oh, I was testing you. And our superb faculty, Dr. Patty Castelli. Patty. Dr. and Ms. Stan Harris. Mr. Atul Kelia. Atul. Dr. Justin Koo. Justin. Dr. Thomas Marks. Dr. Masood Omrani. Dr. Kumar Pariani. Dr. Srikant Raghavan, Dr. Jackie Stavros, Dr. Ling Tu, Dr. Tony Zhang, and our magnificent staff. Ms. Stephanie Janes, Academic Advisor. Mr. Curtis Beck, Student Assistant. Ms. Mina Gino, Director of Business and Information Technology Programs. Ms. Donna Chris, Office Manager and Assistant to the Dean. Oh, yes, be nice. And of course, you know, Mr. Juan Chao, as Director of our Marketing. We, the faculty and staff of Lawrence Technological University, take seriously the task of educating your loved ones. And we know that you take seriously the task of continuing to encourage and support these students as they continue their journey. Let us all take a moment to recognize our new scholars and applaud them. Our students, can you please stand up? Those who are going to be inducted. All inductees. At this time, Stephanie is going to ask inductees to sit at their assigned location, and then we are going to move to the next step. I forgot to mention Pablo. Where are you, Pablo? Oh, thank you very much.
Steven's
Huh? Stevens was not here? No. How about, you know, let's ask him to do it. Let's ask him to come and sit.
So at this time, all of our students and our honorary inductees will come up stage and sit in the seat. There's a name tag for you on your seat. So if you could join us on stage for the induction portion of the ceremony.
On behalf of the College of Business and Information Technology at Lawrence Technological University, I would like to welcome you to this membership recognition ceremony. You have been invited to become a member of Beta Gamma Sigma, as you have shown an outstanding aptitude for business studies and have demonstrated your work ethic and determination. This event is a testament to your hard work. We are honored to have you join us as a new member. This recognition ceremony symbolizes your induction into a very exclusive group of top business scholars. Beta Gamma Sigma chapters are only permitted to establish at business institutions who have worked to attain prestigious AACSB accreditation. From the pool of Beta Gamma Sigma chapters, only the top 10% of undergraduate students and the top 20% of graduate students and some of the most accomplished business practitioners are eligible to be recognized as a member. Beta Gamma Sigma's origin dates back to the earliest years of the 20th century. During that time, business students were largely excluded from consideration for other societies recognizing academic excellence. As such, 3 students' recognition societies on the campuses of the University of California, Berkeley, University of Illinois, and the University of Wisconsin came together in 1913 to establish a national organization which was named Beta Gamma Sigma. This name was chosen to represent the initials of 3 distinguished business professors at the University of Wisconsin. 103 years later, Beta Gamma Sigma is the largest organization in the world, honoring business school graduates internationally. Beta Gamma Sigma membership is the highest honor that a business student attending an AACSB accredited institution can achieve. Members are all over the world and serve in a wide array of industries. This allows unique opportunities for our members to network with a variety of other business professionals from all walks of life. Members of the Lawrence Technological University chapter of Beta Gamma Sigma, we will now proceed with the recognition of newly elected members. Ms. James, you will present the candidates.
I present to you 20 student inductees and 2 honorary inductees.
Candidates, do you desire to be admitted to Beta Gamma Sigma? If so, say, I do. You have been honored by an invitation to membership in Beta Gamma Sigma because of what you have achieved in scholarship and service. We are honored to have you join us. Beta Gamma Sigma is a scholastic honor society dedicated to principles and ideals essential to a worthy life as well as a common business career. The mission of the International Honor Society is to encourage and honor academic achievement in the study of business, to foster personal and professional excellence, to advance the values of the society, and to serve its lifelong members. The principles of Beta Gamma Sigma are represented by 3 Greek words, initials of which from the name of our society, Beta, Gamma, Sigma. Here now, what Beta means to us. Mr. John Beeps.
Beta is the initial letter of the Greek word bebios, which signifies honor. Honor is personal integrity and excellence of character. It is an enduring quality found in all persons who deserve to lead others. All honorable persons conscientiously seek to recognize, to uphold, and to encourage that which is ethical and that which is just. With humility, they acknowledge human failings which tend to induce the sacrifice of lofty ideas for base gains. They are aware of the difficulty of distinguishing right from wrong when confronted by a variety of alternative goals and a multitude of pressures and means to achieve those goals. But their honor is coupled with resolute courage. They may falter and they may fail, yet they rise with renewed determination to do what is right. Their reputations are their most precious possessions. All honorable persons recognize their duties before they demand their rights. They respect law and promote order, not because of a negative fear of sanctions, but because of an affirmative conviction that a good society requires the stability which order provides. Worthy members of Beta Gamma Sigma consciously seek to act honorably at all times. Thus, they confidently pursue peace of mind and happiness for themselves, even as they serve as an exemplar for others. Honor is a guiding star which encourages altruism enlightened social responsibility, and service rather than selfishness. I ask you to accept honor as an ideal to be translated into reality in your conduct every day of your life.
Thank you. Listen now to the explanation of gamma given by Ms. Yalda Qureshi.
Gamma is the initial letter of the Greek word gnosis, which means wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge tested by experience and tempered by discerning judgment. It abhors prejudice. It insists upon freedom of thought and expression. Truly wise persons are aware of their talents and achievements and do not deny or belittle them with misplaced modesty. However, they are also acutely aware of their own limitations and are sympathetic to the shortcomings of others. They are quick to acknowledge their profound dependence on masters who have gone before them. They laud those who have laboriously built earlier civilizations, and they gratefully accept the rich intellectual and cultural heritage they have provided. They are, moreover, thankful for contributions to their development made by family and friends, by superiors, by subordinates, by associates and antagonists. Persons of wisdom constantly seek a better comprehension and more fruitful application of what is known. They are also endlessly engaged in a quest for an understanding of what is unknown. Although the fund of human knowledge has literally multiplied in recent decades, the wise person happily anticipates a future which comprises to provide a geometric expansion of this treasure store. Confronted by a veritable flood of facts and concepts, the person of wisdom exercises special discrimination to select, to arrange, to relate, to interpret, and to apply. This is a challenge worthy of the finest mind. I ask you to continue your quest for wisdom. Nurture it and utilize it in your conduct every day of your life.
Thank you, Mr. Qureshi. Listen finally to explanation of sigma given by Dr. Marks.
Sigma is the initial letter of the Greek word spude, which means earnestness. Earnestness is enthusiasm measured by achievement, disciplined by reason, and ennobled by sincerity. It is that dynamic quality which is essential for all great achievement. Earnest persons reject both temerity and timidity. They have courage to match their convictions. They inspire confidence, invite actions, and generate progress. Without earnestness, both honor and wisdom lose much of their potential effectiveness. Noble purposes, defined with wisdom and upheld with honor, remain evanescent dreams without the driving power of sustainable enthusiasm. The greatest personal achievements are tributes to the blending of honor, wisdom, and earnestness in the minds and hearts of those who lead. Rewards for the individual and progress for society surely proceed from the wholesome union of these qualities. To each of you, much has been given in mind and body and spirit. Of each of you, accordingly, much is expected. Earnestness will help provide the perseverance that dispels weariness, the forward thrust that overcomes opposition, and the resilience that rebounds from reverses. To the earnest person, problems become opportunities for service and profit. I ask you to accept earnestness as a guide and stimulant in your personal conduct every day of your life.
Thank you, Dr. Marks. Candidates, you have heard the principles which members of Beta Gamma Sigma endorse and strive to uphold: honor, wisdom, and earnestness. Do you accept these principles as your own? If so, say I do.
I do.
Please repeat after me a statement in which you formally accept the principles of beta, gamma, sigma. I pledge myself to maintain and uphold the ideals and principles of beta, gamma, sigma. The Scholastic Business Honor Society. I will guard and cherish honor. I will strive ever to acquire wisdom. And use it for the betterment of humankind. I will cultivate earnestness in all my undertakings. As a member of this chapter of Beta Gamma Sigma, I recognize my obligation to assist and cooperate in the development of its purpose. I will seek by all honorable means to advance the interests of the college and university, of my community and my nation. Congratulations, you affirm this pledge. If now you are a member of Beta Gamma Sigma. At this point in time, Ms. Stephanie is gonna call you by name, and as you come here, you shake hands with us, and then of course, we take a picture. President Modgid, could you please join us?
So like Dr. Mearshad said, I'm going to call each person's name, and you're going to come stand for a photo, and then you're welcome to go sit back down. We do ask that our honorary inductees will stay up on stage for the photos. So first, I'd like to induct Miss Andra Rush. And next, Mr. Bankole Thompson. Okay, now we'll induct our students. Matt Ainsworth. Maria Alvarez Rodilla.
Congratulations, man.
Matthew Blanc.
Beta Gamma Sigma chapters are only permitted to establish at business institutions.
Chris Collicott. Josh Denemy. Peter Eba. Hanyu Gao. Cesar Urbina. Xinhui Huang. Adam Katona. Anirudh Mamidipaka. Menuka Lakshani Nugaliata. Marg Rekhook. Max Sabo. Sally Shireman. Harsh Shah. Alex Snarsky. Michael Thibodeau. Last but not least, Garrett Bonk. Let's give a final round of applause to our students.
At this point in time, I'm gonna ask Vice President Christine Miola to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Bangalay Thompson.
Thank you, Dean Rashab. Good evening. I have the pleasure of introducing our first honorary inductee, Mr. Bankalay Thompson. Bankalay is the editor-in-chief of the Pulse Institute, where he drives the strategic editorial vision of Detroit's anti-poverty think tank and is responsible for setting the ethical framework and independence of the Institute as an authoritative voice. Mr. Thompson is an op-ed columnist at the Detroit News, where he writes a twice-a-week column on politics, economic justice, and the cultural debates shaping the nation. He's also written columns for The Guardian on politics and the economy. He is the host of the top-rated news talk program Redline on 9:10 a.m. Superstation Detroit, weekdays from 12 to 2 p.m. His opinions about Detroit's resurgence have attracted international interest, including a European Union-backed German-French television network that flew to Detroit last year to interview him for a documentary about global inequality. In 2015, in recognition of his journalistic leadership, the University of Michigan Bentley Historical Library established the Bankalay Thompson Papers. I can't see the back of the, excuse me. Papers, a comprehensive collection to preserve his work for students and scholars. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Bankalay Thompson.
Good evening. Thank you all to the able president of this remarkable institution, President Mudgall, the dean, Barman, and the entire faculty and students who are here this evening. Congratulations to the students. Let's give them a round of applause again. At the beginning of the introduction, I was introduced as being affiliated also, among other things, with the Pulse Institute, which is a think tank in Detroit here. And I want to give a shout out to one of your inductees tonight, Annie Mama Padika, who in fact was involved in building the technological infrastructure of the Pulse Institute. Thank you. As a writer, whenever you ask a writer to say something, I was looking to what I would say this evening. I do recognize that this is a school where people deal with symbols. And of course, I'm in the business of literature, history, and politics. So I'm trying to find out what the connection is here for me this evening. So I decided to go into history and pulled up something that Martin Luther King Jr. said. And allow me to quote, he said, "Whatever career you may choose for yourself, a doctor, lawyer, teacher, let me propose an avocation to be pursued along with it. Become a dedicated fighter for civil rights. Make it a central part of your life. It will make you a better doctor, a better lawyer, a better teacher. It will enrich your spirit as nothing else possibly can. It will give you that rare sense of nobility that only spring from love and selflessly helping your fellow man. Make a career out of humanity. Commit yourself to the noble struggle for equal rights. You will make a greater person of yourself, a greater nation of your country, and a finer world to live in." So if you're an engineer tonight, be a great engineer. Make a career out of humanity, says Dr. King. And I want to stay briefly. In my brief remarks, when you look at the state of the world today, we're always looking to institutions of higher learning. We're always looking to colleges like Lawrence Tech University. We're looking to institutions of higher learning to make sense of what is happening. And we believe that the students that come out of these institutions are not only individuals who are going to go on and make a lot of money, but we also believe that they will use their career, they will use their vocation, they will use their brilliance to become leaders who will be concerned about issues of equity and justice. So to the students this evening, I want to say a couple of things. Understand this, that you're not only a student. We look at you as the leaders of today. You know, too often it is said students are the leaders of tomorrow. I said, no, you are the leaders of today, and that you can make a difference. You can make a difference. You can impact people's lives with the vocation that you have chosen. There's no disconnect between science and civil rights. I was reading up before I came over here. Winston Churchill went to Massachusetts Institute of Technology almost a century ago, right at the beginning of the Second World War. When he was asked to speak at MIT, he made the case, and he raised a Socratic question, the role of science in feeding the world, what science can do. And he made a compelling case that there's a relationship between science and equity. There's a relationship between engineering and equity, that science can help us answer some of the troubling questions we face in the world today as it relates to inequality. So do not feel that the vocation that you have chosen, the reason for which you are being honored here tonight, that there is in fact a disconnect between civil rights. There is no disconnect. Civil rights, equal rights, the demand for justice is not the exclusive preserve or the exclusive real estate of those designated civil rights leaders. In fact, this is within your own boundary as well. Because when you look around the world today, when I look at Bono in the UK, the last time I checked, he didn't go to school to be a civil rights leader. But today he's one of the most remarkable voices in the world, speaking out against poverty. I can go on and list you a remarkable list of individuals who did not go to school to be civil rights leaders. They were not trained by Amnesty International. They were not trained by the NAACP. They were not trained by the American Jewish Committee. They were not trained by traditional civil rights groups. But they've lent their voices, they've lent the resources that they have, their vocation to fighting for equal rights. And what you can do as students today, because you are the leaders of today, we need to hear your voices. We need to hear you push the envelope, because things are not well. The movement for social justice, the movement for social change all around the world always started on student campuses, because this is where the minds of the future are. That's what history tells us. So I'm not speaking out of historical precedent. I'm only saying that when you look at where we are, the state of affairs in the nation, I think we can find some of the answers right here at Lawrence Tech University and some of our institutions of higher learning, because that's where it always came out of. And the writer Franz Fanon said, each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. Think about that this evening. Nelson Mandela said, it's not what we have done that matters in life. It is the life that we lead that will lead us to help other people that will eventually matter. To be here at Lawrence Tech is quite a high honor. There are many students who perhaps have not had the opportunity to be here, to be in this distinguished room this evening, with individuals as accomplished as Andrew Rush, your President Mudgill, and others. There are many, many students out there who do not have that opportunity. Think about that. Students who woke up with their families today, looking up right in their eyes, could not find an answer on the questions of equity. No food on the table, nothing whatsoever. But we are here tonight celebrating the brilliance of the human mind, the triumph of the human spirit, and the demonstration of man's humanity to man. So I say to you, the challenge is there is no disconnect between engineering and civil rights. There is no disconnect between science and civil rights. When you go back to Winston Churchill at MIT, he raised the Socratic question, can science help us answer some of those troubling issues? Can science help to address famine? Can science help to address equity? Can science help to address poverty and hunger? I say this evening, yes, it can, and you can do it. Thank you so much.
Magnificent speech, as always, by my good friend, Mr. Bangley Thompson. At this point in time, I guess we are ready to have dinner, right, Stephanie? Those of you who know our president know that not only he is a superb leader, he has a magnificent sense of humor. And on several occasions, I have tried to say short, funny stories or jokes to see if I can compete with him, and I've not been successful. So I have two of these short, funny stories. Now, you may say, why did you keep it till after dinner? Because I didn't want you to lose your appetite. So let's see whether I can beat, President Mudgill. It has to do with Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions. Lifelong Detroit Lions fan was told he did not have long to live. So he decided to write out his will and last wishes for his funeral. Everything was what you would expect, but at the end of his will, he had one special request that he wanted sent to the Detroit Lions, which read, I would be grateful if you would allow the Detroit Lions offensive line to be the pallbearers at my funeral so they can let me down one last time. Now that you like it, after a while, I'll give you the second, joke. But at this time, I would like to ask, Associate Dean Professor Scott Schall to come here and say something about a group of students we have from Netherlands. Scott, please come here.
that the other short joke? No. That was my
Then, of course, we are going to give the floor to you.
Okay. Well, thank you. So a number of years ago, for those who know, I'm Scott Shaw. I'm the Associate Dean of the College of Architecture and Design. And a number of years ago, I received a message that a group from the Netherlands wanted to come, and they had ambitions of rehabbing a house as a showpiece, as a showcase of sustainable technologies here in our city. Now, what's remarkable, and the reason I'm standing here, is not that someone came to me and said this. Actually, that happens quite a bit. It's my great pleasure to be surrounded by students that have that degree of optimism and that uncanny ability to see promise in a world where sometimes it's very difficult to see this promise. And it's one of my great pleasures as an educator to be surrounded by these folk on a daily basis. But what separates them is their tenacity and the fact that they came with a plan, and the fact that they came with partnerships, and the fact that these partners have been vetted and they were already committed. That the fact that their optimism was grounded in what was happening in our city. What separated them also is then they executed the project. They raised the money, they executed the project. They proudly hopped on a plane, and the project was burnt to the ground by an accident, by arson, not sure. But then they came back. They came back the next year, a different group of students, and raised the money again, and worked with local contractors, and rebuilt it. And they continue that building effort now. And so when I think about why I was invited to introduce this group here and why we would be speaking, it actually didn't occur to me until the meaning behind Beta Gamma Sigma was told. And I can actually think of no better embodiment than the spirit of these guys that have come back 3 years now to a city they didn't know otherwise, to build a showpiece about sustainable redevelopment. And so it's my great pleasure to welcome them to this event and thank you for featuring them in their work. I want one of them to talk because I don't know anything else about the work. No, I'm just kidding, I do. But please, come forward.
Well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk about this project. I do not completely agree with Scott, but I will come back in detail with that. I'm Joost, and together with 6 other students who are there in the back of the room, we are students of the University of Technology in Delft. That's all the way in the Netherlands. And we are the Motown movement. We simply got tired of talking about climate change and green solutions without ever doing something with it. That is why we parked our studies for a year to come here. We fight climate change by making sustainable housing accessible for everyone. We think that everyone should be aware of the big bad wolf called climate change, and we think that everyone should be able to fight them. However, sustainable techniques are too expensive and too state-of-the-art for the majority of this world's population. We, as the Motown movement, will try to empower everyone to live green and sustainable. We achieve this through our method of low-budget, do-it-yourself techniques combined with education. The outcomes of our research will be posted on our free online platform. This website will contain information about your initial costs, a step-by-step installation guide, and your potential monthly savings. Now I hear you think, money, that's good. By making it this simple and insightful, we want everyone to feel responsible to take action. But as I said earlier, we are from an engineering school, and we need proof before we believe anything. So that's why we thought we'd make it one step bigger. And we bought a house. And to be more precise, as Scott said, we bought a house here in Detroit, one of the poorest neighborhoods that we could find. Still don't know why, but we tried it. And when this project started about 3 years ago, Scott said we knew everything about running this project, but we didn't. We had a lot of confidence and just barged in and said that we had a lot of confidence, but it didn't always turn out that it was right so. So LawTech gave us a hand and made sure that we were steered in the right direction. Right now, we are rebuilding this house while using our own methods, together with our neighborhood, our local partners, and few of the volunteers from LawTech. When this is finished, it will be our education center for the community to learn about sustainable techniques and also how they can save money while using them, because they are wasting too much money on their energy bill. If we prove to these poor people in this neighborhood that they can save money while using our methods, we prove that everyone can do it. Because everyone should have a fair chance of fighting climate change and living green and sustainable while saving money. Our proof of concept should be the motivation for everyone to see what they could do to also implement sustainable techniques. And now for the good part, because during this project we've had our ups and downs. But unfortunately, almost made a big mistake there. LawTech was on our side. And thanks to them, we are still standing and we are still progressing towards our final goal. And I would like to thank Scott Shell and Jim Stevens personally for being on our side all the time. Thanks to them, their useful contact, their motivational speeches at times, and their inexhaustible river of knowledge, we have faith that the Motown movement will succeed. One last push with the help of LawTech could make us finish the project this summer. What we need from you is think, how can I help them? Because we need building materials, a little bit more funding, and all the volunteers that you can find. So, if you are interested and you know any way that you can help us, please come to us because we'd love to hear from you. You can be part of making this project a success and making the world a little bit greener. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. And of course, now before I give the floor to Ms. Mueller to introduce our keynote speaker, per popular request, I'm gonna give you the second funny story. So, the second funny story. Now let's see whether I can beat Dr. Modgill. Four worms and a lesson to be learned. A minister decided that a visual demonstration would add emphasis to his Sunday sermon. 4 worms were placed in 4 separate jars. The first worm was put in a container of alcohol. The second worm was put into a container of cigarette smoke. The third worm was put into a container of chocolate syrup. The fourth worm was put into a container of good clean soil. At the conclusion of the sermon, the minister reported the following results. The first worm in alcohol, dead. The second worm in cigarette smoke, dead. The third worm in chocolate syrup, dead. Fourth worm in good clean soil, alive. So the minister asked the congregation, "What did you learn from this demonstration?" Maxine was sitting in the back, quickly raised her hand and said, "As long as you drink, smoke, and eat chocolate, you won't have worm." That pretty much ended the service. So,
I think we should all give a big hand to Dean Mershab and his team for this wonderful celebration tonight. And that was a funny joke. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our honoree and keynote speaker for the evening, Ms. Andra Rush. Ms. Rush is founder, chair, and chief executive officer of Rush Group, including Dakota Integrated Systems, Rush Trucking Corporation, and Rush Supply Chain Management, which specializes in large-scale component manufacturing, complex assembly and sequencing, supply chain management, logistics, and land transportation for global brands. Rush Group is one of the largest Native American-owned firms in the U.S. and the second largest Michigan-based woman-owned enterprise with a 3,000 team member at 13 locations in the U.S. and Canada. amazing. And here's what's even more amazing. In 1984, Andra borrowed $5,000 from her parents, combined with $3,000 in savings, plus credit cards, and launched Rush Trucking with 1 van and 2 pickups. Today, Rush Trucking transports parts for Fortune 50 companies with a fleet of 1,000 tractor trailers. She launched Dakota in 2001 to build automotive interiors for GM, Ford, and FCA for their North American facilities. Dakota has earned top supplier and quality manufacturing accolades from Ford, FCA, and General Motors every year since 2007. President Barack Obama acknowledged Andra during his 2014 State of the Union address for creating jobs with the 2012 opening of Detroit Manufacturing Systems, an automotive supplier. And I think you were the first one to do that in a really long time, from what I read. In 2018, she sold her majority stake in the company that she grew to $1 billion in annual revenue. Andra serves on the board of the Terex Corporation and on the Ford Supplier Council. The University of Michigan Ann Arbor alumna, is an inductee in the Michigan Women's Hall of Fame, the Michigan Business Women's Hall of Fame, and the Michigan Minority Business Hall of Fame. Please join me in giving a warm round of applause for Miss Andra Rush.
Well, thank you, Christina, and thank you, Dean Modgill, and Dean Mashab, Batman as I call him. I see Dr. Patty out there, and Dean Jenna. It's been really a great evening for me today. So I wanted to say, first of all, thank you, and I'm really honored to be here. I appreciate being part of Beta Gamma Sigma. I had to practice that in the bathroom 3 times before I came out. But I just wanted to thank you again for the prestigious honor, and also congratulate Bankole. I mean, you could come up here and give the keynote speech. Boy, I was fired up. But I am just so thrilled to see all these talented people in the room, young men and women ready to take on the world with bright futures. So thank you for letting me have a little bit of your time. Now for my joke. I'm kidding. My kids, my kids will walk out. They said, "You're not funny, Mom. Don't try." But we thought if I shared a little bit instead of my life story in 35 years and 10 minutes, maybe just a little bit of how I started from scratch, so to speak, as a way, in my mind, it would be a bit successful if you said, "Geez, if she can do it, I can do it too." So I think you might feel that by the time I describe some of my early beginnings. But my first business, Rush Trucking, I started at age 23. And I had the privilege, a lot of us talked about being first-generation entrepreneurs or first-generation individuals to be able to go to college. That was never on my horizon because that was for rich people. But others come before you to pave a path forward. And one of my mentors had found that the University of Michigan had built on native land. And as long as you're native descendant, you would get a tuition waiver. And I was recruited by the admissions director for Native Americans. And I was told that, "Be proud, the University of Michigan accepted you." This was my principal, and I was 8th in the class from my high school. And they said, "Well, if you make it to October, be proud of yourself." I'm like, Jesus, I don't start till September. I'll prove it wrong. I'll prove them wrong. I'll at least make it to January. But it was a little antidote, I tell you, because I get motivated by challenge. When people say it's not possible or it's impossible, I like to drop the "im" and make it possible. So with that opportunity and going to University of Michigan, I got my RN degree. And one of my errors, I guess, it was a fantastic learning, but what I didn't understand was that I never looked at an org chart in my life. I didn't know what RNs made. I just knew if I got a 4-year degree, I'd make big money. And after I graduated the state boards and announced I am a full-fledged RN, they said, well, great. You are now going to make $9 an hour. I said, you're so hilarious. I mean, really, well, here's my degree. $9.25 because you work the midnight shifts. What I was dumbfounded. What am I going to do? $9.25. So I finally looked at the org chart and I said, who's the CFO person? Can they give the nurse a raise? And they're like, oh yeah, and you want to be CEO because they make, back then $400,000 and double their bonus. I said, okay, I'll go back to school. But that I share with you too, because I didn't know what I didn't know. And sometimes that can be good, and you can use it as an experience to defeat you, or you can use it as an experience to say, well, now I know and I have to change my path. And it's okay. Because how do you know at 17 or 21 or 22 what you want to be for the rest of your life? So I went to business school, did an internship, and then decided to go and start a trucking company. Now, why did I do that? I had a compelling vision. What was my vision? I didn't name it compelling at 22, but my vision was to be able to sit in front of my grandparents and my parents and say, you don't have to work a job anymore. You have economic freedom because you have worked so hard for so many of us and sacrificed so much for our family. I want to see you have fun. So that was my goal. And I did a lot of things prior to this I don't have time to go into, but I started trucking, and one of the motivating factors of choosing trucking was in my internship when I got to payroll. Remember, I was making $9.25 on the midnight shift. The truck driver that didn't have a lot of education, and at that time, 35 years ago, could have had better hygiene, was making $1,200 a week when I was taking home $400. So I said, oh, I can do this for no problem. And I did, and I had also a bit of information that would be dangerous, but it was inspiring for me. I heard there were set-aside contracts for Native American or minority-owned businesses, and they had 25% profit. Imagine that. All I needed was 3. I'd retire at 27, go back to work at 50. That was my plan. I called my grandmother, my grandparents, you can retire. I'm starting a business. I just want to tell everyone after 35 years, and George would know this, I've never found those contracts. If they exist, I don't know where they are. But it was something that pushed me out of my comfort zone and pushed me to go after something that I normally wouldn't pursue. And I tell you that because there'll be moments in your life where you're going to be pushed out of your comfort zone, or you'll be in your comfort zone and you know that something's missing. And I encourage you to just push yourself out of that comfort zone. Failing is where you learn, and failing is not failure unless you don't try again. You always get up and make it happen. I have many stories about cash flow that I'm not going to tell you, like putting the phone bill and the electric bill and the phone bill. So I'd still have good credit and make the cash flow, but we're not going to, I'm digressing there. What I do want to tell you though is when you have a compelling vision and then you have a service or a product that you believe in and that you know a customer will meet a customer need, and that compelling vision is a purpose larger than yourself, bigger than yourself, it's those 2 ingredients in my mind are just enough to push you into pursuing what you need to do to start a business. And you have to have perseverance, you have to have passion, you have to be able to communicate in a positive way, and sometimes you might be the only individual that I would be the only female. And I thought I'd look older if I put my hair up, so I look like 27. And now I wear it down, you see, so I look younger. But in any event, I'd come to an event like this, and it would be all men. And then I would try to introduce myself, and I was shy. And they'd say, "Oh, nice to meet you too. Would you get me an iced tea? Would you get me a coffee?" And I thought that's what the new people did. See, I was on a mission, and I didn't even get offended. But I realized that I was there to meet my goal and my vision. And that's what you need to ask yourself to do, and be willing to do what others wouldn't do. I drove a truck a lot. I made deliveries a lot. I had to repair our trucks. But the best thing I can tell you about starting a business, you meet phenomenal people. You meet your customers, the employees that work with you, your suppliers, people in the community, friendly competitors. And for me, that's been one of the greatest learnings. Make sure you always go out and ask people for help when you need it, and try to get a team around you that is much smarter and better than you are. That will make all the difference in the world. Stay in your swim lane, so to speak. I'm blessed today because I do want to share. I'm going to embarrass my two of my three sons and my best friend Dorian. And come on, George, stand up. I just want you to recognize them, please. Thank you so much. Because they sacrifice so much. When you have a business, it's 24/7, 7 days a week, and sometimes there's challenges you don't know how you're going to make it through. I'm fortunate that I have a spiritual foundation that's pretty solid. I pray a lot. I believe in our Creator. I'm a Christian, and that got me through some of the best times and some of the toughest times. And so make sure in your life you have a spiritual compass that grounds you and keeps you centered on what your purpose is. And then I guess lastly, there's so much I'd like to share, but I'm excited about the disruption that's going on in our society today in terms of business. The civil rights and equality that do you say Bangala? Bangala. Okay, I had a truck driver for my English teacher, so I'm really working on it. But thank you very much. Your speech was so inspiring, and it was right on the inequalities. I just be mindful that 50% of the world's population lives on $2 or less a day. And we are so fortunate to be born in this great country of ours. But for this team, as you said, these are the leaders, not of the future, but of today. You have so much technology at your fingertips and disruption. You can make a change very rapidly and very quickly, and it'll be exciting for us to see all the things that come our way. Please remember to support one another and work together. And you have to have passion. I'm going to share with you my third wave. My third wave is water. In 6 years, 40 of our 50 states will be in crisis. 6 years. I was saying this 4 years ago, so I was saying in 10 years, 9 years, 8 years. Fortunately, in Michigan, we have the wonderful Great Lakes. We also have the largest aquifer in the world that's still polluted with PCBs. So it's a resource that we've been blessed with, but we cannot take it for granted, similar to climate change. And all of us can make a difference one step at a time. But my passion is to hopefully take the Motor City, the Music City, and make Michigan the water capital of the United States and the world. So I'm looking for volunteers to join and great technologies to help us achieve that goal. But again, a little bit bigger than me, but hopefully leave future generations better than they were when I arrived. So with that, I want you to be like Channel 4 and go for it. I usually say that with Rhonda Walker, so that's better when she's around. But anyways, I wanted to thank you very much for allowing me to share a few words with you and be an honorable inductee. So thank you.
By the way, Beta Gamma Sigma annually has a leadership conference, and both, Mr. Bankaley Thompson and Ms. Andra Rush have been nominated to go to Chicago if they have time and make a presentation in the area of leadership to more than 1,000 students which annually attend that event. So also, before I give finally the floor to our president, a few days ago, March 25th was my wife's 25th birthday. So I didn't have time to celebrate it, so I bought a cake for her, and I just want to say happy birthday to Maria. Now, before I give the floor to our distinguished president, by the way, the second person in the line of command, Dr. Maria Voss, could not come here because of an emergency situation. So she asked me to convey the message to you and give you her congratulations. But before I give the floor to our president, may I ask parents, friends of all students to stand up and be recognized? It was for you that these students could achieve this recognition. Could you please stand up? Now, at this time, I give the floor to President and CEO of Lawrence Technological University, President Virender Madgil. Dr. Madgil.
Thank you, Dean Mirshab. And ladies and gentlemen, I have enough sense to know that I shouldn't be here on this podium after hearing my friend Bankaley and our leader, Andra, who is an unmatched leader in the area and of our personal accomplishment. Yet the format says I should be here, so I'm taking that risk. However, when I was coming to the event, there was an accident on the road. I hope you escaped that. And the person who was in accident was an elderly lady, very nice, very generous, had a chance. And the policeman, the car stopped, the police was very rapidly available, and they asked her what happened. So the lady hit a pole on the side. So nobody was injured in front, but she hit a pole and she got a little whiplash. So the policeman asked what happened. He looked for the license and all that, but he didn't worry about license. He wanted to know whether she was okay. So she said, "Excuse me, man, what happened?" She said, "Sir, I don't know what happened. I was trying to go straight and I saw that there was a tree on my left side, and I tried to move to right and there was a tree on the right side. I was in a dilemma, so I kept driving and I hit the pole." And the policeman said, "Excuse me, ma'am, there are no trees on the left or the right. The tree you saw was a air freshener hanging from your dashboard." But this evening is very important for a lot of reasons. One, you have the current leaders, as Bankaley said, they're the present-day leaders, and certainly they are going to take the future leadership in their hands as it come by for whatever they graduate from. And I think there are no silos. Whatever your graduation discipline is, as a citizen, as a person in the area, you have responsibilities, whatever may come for. Because it is a business school, business and information technology, a few years ago, I was able to speak on a forum such as this, and I talked about how people have changed who have finance and business acumen, how they have changed and helped humanity, all who have helped have-nots. The example comes from a Nobel laureate, Dr. Yunus from Bangladesh. You may have heard that he started a bank with a very little money, an area that was always underwater. They could not grow any rice or other things. They had no money to do irrigation. So he started what they call the microeconomics, small loans to farmers to buy equipment, get into groups to buy things they could not afford. And before you know it, in a few years, the whole town was envy of everyone. They were able to grow crops. They were able to have enough money to have good food on the table. They were able to send children to the college and schools. He's a Nobel laureate. I invited him a few times. He's just too busy. He's all over the world he's needed. Why I share this story? Because this is very important for the graduates of business school. You have a business acumen. You have ability to think differently. You have, for example, you have ability to change your neighborhoods, your school or college you work with, or your company like Andra works, she does so much for her company. This morning when I was driving to work, this is not a joke. It was, I did drive into the work, but I heard on the radio 950 that only 42% or 48% people who are in the retirement age has any saving. Any saving. Why do I say that in this audience? Because when the governor, which I was meeting yesterday on a forum in Detroit Regional Chamber, the idea of meeting the governor was we need more degrees. That's why we lost Amazon and others. Very few people have degrees in Michigan compared with other states. How do you create degrees when students cannot pay the loans? They do not have money for registration or giving the fees in private or public universities. Because the parents are not saving money. They must have a vacation. They must have holidays. They must go to the ball game. They must spend $500 to see a ball game and then drink a lot of beer. I'm saying the cold facts. But you do not have money to put a kid that you brought into life to put them through school and college. It is something we need to think about. Why is there a gap in the richest nation in the world that we cannot graduate enough students through the college? Parents have to take responsibility. Society has to take responsibility. And schools and colleges have to do that. And we have to be creative. How can we come out of this mess and have a nation that we all dream to? Many of us got great opportunity to be here. There is no bigger, better nation in the world. But that opportunity is not widespread. People who have been here for generations, some of them haven't really risen to the level of prosperity. And this is the actual designation, responsibility of college graduates who have business degrees. Think business in a way that not only you are doing business or helping businesses for others, but you create opportunity for those who are have-nots, so they can also experience the beauty of this nation as all of us have. So this meeting, I think, was also a good opener for eyes. What Bankole said about Dr. King, Mandela, and Dr. Gandhi was another person who was followed by Dr. King and Nelson Mandela. And he had a vision that unless he becomes like everyone else, he cannot change the country. This was a barrister from British education, Mahatma Gandhi, son of a prince of a small state. If you didn't read about him, you never imagined that this guy was a three-suit person with a barrister from England, and he has a loincloth and some sandals in the feet and a watch to keep him on time. That's all he owned when he died. But he wanted to lead the people out of the mess they had for hundreds of years, only because they need to identify themselves with this man, so they can lead them. They could not be led by people who had British suits on them, umbrellas, and great shoes, because they couldn't think they would represent them. So in many ways, when we learn those who do not have what they should have for representing the greatness of this country, we need to come step down and meet with them, go to areas that are deprived, and help them and give your talent and whether you have 2 hours a week or in a month, give your time, give your idea, give your intelligence to those areas that can use it. Business graduates like they are in this audience can really change the world at a micro stage or a mega stage. With that, I thank you all for coming tonight to make it a very memorable evening. Our speakers were just amazing. Andra, a great friend and a leader in the area, her personal story is something you should copy and think about. What an exemplary life she led, from where she came and what she has created, and thousands of people have benefited from her work. Bankole is raising a voice of conscience about things that society needs, and we are capable of doing that. And with that, I wish you a great evening. Drive safe. It has been a great evening. And please give a huge welcome. Put your hand together for Dr. Mirshab. He puts on a great party. And his team, I know Meena and people here from the college, could you please raise hands? I think you're a great team. You put together a great show tonight. Thank you. And thank you all, and please drive safe. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Can I make a request?
Yes, please.
Will you please concede to our dean that he's a better joke teller, so he'll stop telling us jokes? He's trying to beat you every time.
Why, I had already surrendered. Why fight when you already surrendered? Because if I didn't, he's not going to invite me next year.